You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
Your coach, Danny.
And fans, we have a full show for you today. But first, Danny, I have to say happy holidays, Thanksgiving, upcoming Christmas, Hanukkah, all the holidays to you and the fans out there. Hope that Thanksgiving, for those who celebrate, was a fulfilled one that was safe and one that was filled with love and happiness with family and loved ones. But Danny, to this football, and where on Thursday, full slate of games, and first starting off the Bills and Lions. Lions always plays on Thanksgiving. Same thing with the Cowboys, and we'll get to them later on here. But the Bills, who had to make an adjustment in their travel schedules because of the amount of snow that they actually received. They ended up winning this game 28-25, which seemed to have been a game that went down to the wire here, Danny. The Detroit Lions are showing some fight. They were trying to go for their fourth victory in a row. And unfortunately, for the Lions fans, they came up a little bit short. The Bills, when it goes ahead and wins this game. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, Jason, this one's, I thought for sure the Lions were going to upset the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo just didn't seem right. They're keeping pace, but they just didn't seem like themselves. And I don't know if it was, like you mentioned, with the weather and the new schedule and if they stayed and all that good stuff, because they played in Detroit last week due to the amount of snow they received in Buffalo. But yeah, man, the Lions, they had this one, and this one may be the one that comes back to bite them in the end. I know they've had a lot of close losses this year, actually, but this one may be a dagger from a playoff perspective, because they're middling and they're right there. But the 4 wins at this point in the season, unless one of these other teams completely falls apart, I think that's the nail in the coffin. So good game, good showing. Usually you see Detroit on the schedule and you're like, oh. But they actually put up a good fight, and it was actually a great game to watch. And Buffalo won right at the end with the last second field goal.
And now, Danny, on to the next game here, where the Cowboys and Giants faced off in Dallas, drawing a new NFL record, 42 million viewers in the NFL regular season record. And Danny, this was an interesting game through and through, but nonetheless, the Cowboys, they go ahead and prevail on this one, 28-20, where Dak Prescott throws for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 for 30. Zeke Elliott, 16 carries, 92 yards, a touchdown, and CeeDee Lamb, 6 receptions for 106 yards. Danny, this is one of those games in where obviously divisional rival game. I don't know if the Giants were fully always in it. They were in it, in terms of competing, but did we ever really doubt that the Cowboys wouldn't win? Cowboys win, man. They go to 8-3. They need to continue to win because the Philadelphia Eagles went ahead and beat up on the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night. We'll get to that later on here. But the final game on the Thanksgiving plate was the Patriots against the Vikings. I'm gonna be real, Danny. I really didn't watch this game, man. The Vikings, I was too busy being full, man. But the Vikings, they prevail in this game here, 33-26. They bounced back from the beating the Cowboys put on them in Minnesota. So they go ahead and beat the Patriots. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, Jason, this Vikings game was actually, I watched it and it was really good. It was played out kind of like the Lions-Bills game. in a way. So it was a nice nightcap. It's usually on a slate of games. Yeah, the Cowboys game, they won by 8, but there was a last-second touchdown by the Giants to make that closer than what it actually appeared to be. But the Vikings game, they came back again, man. Patriots had this one in the bag, and they let the Minnesota Vikings hang around, and Minnesota does what they do. Fourth quarter, came back, one-score game, won, and they're keeping pace with the Eagles. They're sitting in that hip pocket, just waiting for the Eagles to lose. So great win. Justin Jefferson had a good game, and now it's just one of those ones, especially from the Patriots standpoint. This would have helped them in the playoff race in the AFC. So to lose this game is tough.
And Danny, on to the Green Bay Packers, and where they take from the Philadelphia Eagles 40-33. Before the game started, a friend of mine texted me, and he asked my thoughts on this game. And let me tell you exactly what I wrote before the game, Danny, because it came true.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this because I am a psychic. I'm saying this because this is what I wrote. I said, my thoughts of the game, shaking my head. We're not going to look good. In all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Love plays later in the game. And I may watch the Milwaukee Bucks game instead. I ended up watching the Milwaukee Bucks more than I watched the Packers, at least in the first half, Danny. I watched a good portion of the second half of this NFL game. Aaron Rodgers, 11 for 16, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The first interception, in my opinion, wasn't necessarily his fault. Came off of a deflection and all. But nonetheless, man, he got sacked 3 times. Got hit a few other times. One of those hits ends up messing up with his ribs, concerned with a punctured lung. He goes out the game. Jordan Love comes in, goes 6 for 9 for 113 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts, Danny, let me just say, Jalen Hurts had a game for you. 16 for 28, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, passing the ball. But this is the amazing stat here. He has 17 rushes for 157 yards. It sounds like Colin Kaepernick when he played for the 49ers and where he ran all over us back in the day. Same thing. Ain't nothing changed. It's just a different year. 157 yards running the ball. You kidding me? Not only that, Miles Sanders, 21 carries, 143 yards. Do you know that the Philadelphia Eagles had 363 rushing yards on us? Our defense was just tired, couldn't stop anybody. We haven't had a bye week yet. I think we get that after we play the Chicago Bears next week. And all. But let me just say this, Danny. A.J. Dillon, 8 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones, 12 carries for 43 yards. Not enough, in my opinion, on the ground. I think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon were definitely used here in the receiving game, which I'm just really baffled here what the hell we're doing offensively, Danny. We have Christian Watson, who had 110 yards and a touchdown, but I don't see any of our receivers receiving. Randall Cobb, 2 catches, 1 for a touchdown, 19 yards. Robert Tonyan, tight end, 3 catches for 20 yards. Lazard, 2 catches for 24 yards. Like, I don't know what we're doing offensively, man. This is just so confusing. The Packers are in trouble. I went in with low expectations of this game, quite frankly. And I'm really starting to wonder when Packers sit Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season. Though he said he wants to, he would like to continue to play as long as they're mathematically in it. I get it. I understand what he's saying. But it's to a point where they're getting close to not being mathematically in it. kudos to the Eagles. They go to 10-1. They're the best team in the NFC as of right now, and they continue to roll. What say you, Danny?
If Joe Barry has a job after this year,
oh my gosh, man.
Jalen Hurts, he has the potential to run the ball. And if you watch in that first half, that one in particular, that run he had is maybe like a 60-yard run.
Mm-hmm.
They pursued on the outside, and there was nobody. It was just the scheme was all off. But that interception by Aaron Rodgers, the second one, was huge in that game because they actually had some momentum in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And if they would have scored on that drive where he threw that pick, I thought they had a shot to beat the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Even as bad as their defense was yesterday. And that was the thing, that defense didn't do anything to help the offense. The offense put up 33, but the defense gave up 40. And it was the defensive line that was getting manhandled by the offensive line of the Eagles that gave them those holes. And Miles Sanders, man, he looked good, and Hurts looked good. Even Gainwell, Boston Scott, the other guys they brought in had nice chunks of yards. It wasn't like they were just getting like 2 yards. They're getting like 10-yard clips, which moves the chains, moves the clock. But I thought the pivotal point in that game was that second interception by Aaron Rodgers. And then, he got hurt later in the game. And the defense actually, from the Eagles' perspective, stepped up because they actually got to him and sacked him. And that's when he got injured with the oblique ribs or whatever it is. So
let me ask you this, Danny. Do you sit Aaron Rodgers, play Jordan Love the rest of the season?
Like I said last show, Aaron Rodgers, until they are out of the playoff run, I don't see him sitting. But after that injury last night, I would think he would sit, especially they play the Bears next week.
He always goes off against the Bears.
I know. But it's one of those things where it's like, all right, if Justin Fields isn't playing, there's no real need, especially if they have a bye.
Yeah.
I think they can get the Bears with Jordan Love. Granted, the Bears do run the ball well, and and last time they played the Bears, Montgomery went off on them. But it's just Montgomery. It's not Fields. It's not Herbert, the other running back they have that's really good. So I think it's one of those things where let Jordan Love start this upcoming week, get to the bye, and then evaluate where the playoffs are and how everything is internally.
And now, Danny, on to some additional NFL talk and scores here. Buccaneers take an L against the Browns. Go figure. That moves the Buccaneers to 5-6. And Tom Brady, pedestrian game, 29-43, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nonetheless, Buccaneers went ahead and takes an L on this one, man. Nick Chubb, 116 yards rushing on 26 carries. What do you think, Danny? These Buccaneers, they continue to go on that roller coaster ride of an NFL season.
And that's what makes the game, my Falcons game yesterday, even worse.
And speaking of your Falcons, Danny, you all take an L, man. Y'all moved to 5-7. Y'all could have done something in this division but you all lost to the Commanders. What say you?
Well, Jason, lost 19-13, and there are a lot of key moments in this game, but the one in particular is what happened at the end of the game. We drove the ball. We're within the 10-yard line, so we're in the red zone, just draining the clock. Commanders had no timeouts left. It was first and goal, we get stopped. Second and goal, we decide to pass. We ran the ball all the way down the field. Granted, Zacchaeus had a key catch in that last drive to get us down, I think, within the 40-yard line, and then we just kept running the ball down the throat. We decide to pass. It gets tipped, and they intercept us in the end zone. But wait, there's more. So we had all 3 timeouts left, and there's 44 seconds left. So they're kicking out of their end zone. They're punting out of their end zone because they went 3 and out. We get a roughing the kicker or roughing the punter penalty, and they clock it. the game is clocked. So seeing the Tampa Bay game with the overtime, so I didn't get this, we lost before they got to OT, but it was one of those games, another one where it was close and we win this game. It puts us in a great spot. So right now we're a half game back of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is struggling right now.
Mm-hmm.
To lose the way they did to Cleveland yesterday, they just look bland. There's no pizzazz with the Buccaneers right now, and they may get in by default because the rest of the division is struggling, including us, to overtake them. So it may come down to that last game of the season still, Jason, where Atlanta plays Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And we've put ourselves in a position where we shouldn't even be in that. We should be in a way better spot than we are. Lessons learned, but they got to start putting in Ridder. Mariota, he did okay yesterday, but he didn't do anything spectacular. He was 15 for 25, 174 yards, touchdown. They ran the ball really well. We had over 160 yards running. But I think it's time you got to see what Ridder has. At least get him in a couple packages, let him play to see what you have with him before the season's over with. Because I would hate to see them go through the whole season and not see what he can do. At least give him an opportunity to play a little bit.
And Danny, another game that didn't intrigue me, but it's something to keep your eye on, and that's the New York Jets against the Chicago Bears. I think we need to keep our eye on the starting quarterback for this particular game, Mike White, for the New York Jets, and where he went 22 for 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the Jets played a lot better with him at the helm versus Zach Wilson. I think Zach's time is up for the New York Jets. If Mike White continues to ball like this, yeah, I can see this possibly being the end of his time, Zach Wilson's time with the New York Jets. So this is something to keep your eye on. Obviously, Justin Field did not play this game due to injury. Trevor Siemian was in there, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 179 yards, excuse me. The Bears are the Bears, man. They ain't good, man. So my hope is that the Packers go ahead and drub the Bears just to kind of get on the good winning foot, if you will, especially in Chicago. You start keeping your eye on the Miami Dolphins, man. Tua's been balling. He balled out again, 299 yards, a touchdown. Dolphins good, man. They beat the Texans, Texans are just bad, man. They brought Lovey back into the NFL. I don't know how much longer he gonna stay in the NFL, man.
Not dealing with this team.
I mean, I see Lovey possibly more as a coordinator, a different coach. He didn't do all that well with the University of Illinois. And when he left there, Illinois is doing better. Got a better record. I don't know if it's recruiting class or I don't know, but Lovey better watch it, man. It could be to a point where if he stays for another season, he's going to have a hell of a season to stay as a NFL head coach moving forward. So that's something to watch there too, Danny. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, Jay, a couple other things of note here. You mentioned the Dolphins. Guess who the Dolphins play next week, Jason? The 49ers. You talk about a game to watch?
Yep.
The Niners defense versus the Dolphins offense in San Francisco, because the Saints got shut out by the 49ers yesterday, 13-0. And that defense and they have some significant injuries on the defensive side of the ball too. They have a couple guys out with some ACL injuries. So for them to keep playing the way they are is amazing. The game that I had my eyes on was that Bengals-Titans game as well. where the Bengals went to the scene of the crime against the Titans and ended up beating the Titans again in similar fashion, where they won 20-16. Very competitive game. They shut down King Henry. They are hitting him a lot behind the line. They blitzed the Titans a lot. And for them to beat the Titans without Jamar Chase, beating them without Jamar Chase will give them that confidence. And they weren't getting a Burrow like they did last year either. So it's one of those games. It's a statement game. It helps the Bengals from a playoff positioning perspective. And the Titans don't have anything to worry about in their division. Their division is terrible. But it's one of those things, once they get to the actual playoffs, where they see a team like the Bengals again, that'll put some doubts in the back of their minds.
And Danny, the Kansas City Chiefs, they go ahead and beat the Rams. Let's just say these defending champs, Los Angeles Rams, they ain't going to the playoffs.
Nope.
That is a wrap for their season. I don't know what happened. Of course, they don't have OBJ. Von Miller is no longer with them, and wishing Von Miller a quick recovery. Luckily, it wasn't an ACL tear, but he may be out multiple weeks, if not this rest of the season or regular season. We'll see what happens with that. But nonetheless, man, the Los Angeles Rams, the defending champions, will not be going back to the playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs, they are the Kansas City Chiefs. They are who we thought they are. And so they continue to run through the division, where they're now 9-2. So interesting with the Raiders here. They finally win their fourth win of the season. What a walk-off touchdown by a walk-off touchdown by Josh Jacobs. And dog, man, Josh Jacobs had a game, man. 33 carries for 229 yards. You kidding me? 2 touchdowns? Whoa.
Bad loss for the Seattle Seahawks from a playoff positioning perspective, because this one puts them behind the 49ers, and they're hanging on by a thread.
Geno Smith continues to do well, man. I mean, 27 for 37, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, man.
Yep.
Geno, I'm telling you, man, I think he's found the fountain of youth / fountain of rejuvenation, reviving my career type situation here in Seattle. So what a turnaround for him. I'm happy for him. I think he'll continue to do great. And I think Seattle is happy that they got rid of Russell Wilson, man.
Oh, yeah. It is one of those things where Geno got an opportunity and he took full advantage of it. And it's not his fault that the defense gave up an 86-yard touchdown. They put up 34 points.
Yep.
So he's been having a great year, and I hope he finishes strong. And it'd be nice to see them in the playoffs just for that simple fact. But the NFC East now currently has all 4 teams slotted for the playoffs. With the Commanders winning yesterday. So they're all currently in the playoffs. And like I said, it'd be nice to see Seattle make it, just due to the fact of what Geno's done this year.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.